Hello and welcome round to my house. Now I'm heading into the kitchen to get ready for another Saturday morning packed with great food and even better company. We've got recipes from one of the country's finest chefs and a Mansfield lass who set the London restaurant scene alight. And I'll be chatting to one of the biggest names in British classical music. So what are we doing out here? Well, first off, I'm getting warmed up, but then we're going to start cooking. Welcome to the show.
Morning. Are you coming in then?
Good morning, and what a show we've got lined up for you today. I'll be joined throughout the morning by top tenor and West End star Alfie Boe will be back at the house. Looking forward to that one. The very talented Sally Abbey will be here as well. She'll be dropping by later and treating us to a slap-up dish of pork chops with peas pudding. What about that for a dish? We'll be visiting the chef Dipna Anand in her own restaurant kitchen as she treats us to some authentic Indian cookery. And don't miss this week's little masterclass, and we're teaching you everything you want to know about how to cook some spring greens 3 different ways. That's not all, because we're lucky enough to be joined today by a trailblazing chef who's made his name serving up some of the best food this country has ever produced. He wrote that bit. It's Mr. Zach Baines. Yeah. Good to have you on the show. Good to have you in the house as well. Congratulations on everything.
No, thank you.
I mean, I've been to see you just at Christmas time. Yeah. It's going from strength to strength for you.
It's incredible, yeah. We've obviously had the refit and all that.
You have. You can't admit. We're going to talk about it later on the show, but you tell us where, because it's quite, dare I say, an unusual place for a...
Yeah, as you know, it's under a...
I love it.
Pylon, a motorway, but,
yeah,
you know, it's my 24th year.
24 years you've been there.
So the idea is ultimately to create this kind of like a restaurant with beautiful food, cooked amazingly well, that gives people a bit of luxury, a bit of innovation, but still looking at the old-fashioned...
You're saying about innovation, but you're almost looking... We'll talk about our menu as well later on, but the tweaks that you're making, you never... You and fellow chefs that I know, you never sit still in terms of... You're always changing things in terms of the decor, the bar and...
Yeah, Amanda did all the design last year, and we reduced the covers with all, obviously after COVID, and we just thought, let's just have a good time.
And we're talking about one of the dishes. You're bringing back a sort of classic. What one of the dishes you're going to cook for us today?
Yeah, so we're doing a chicken liver muesli. I did a poll on Instagram to see which dishes people would like back, and this was one of them. So it's been on for a week.
That sounds pretty good to me. Sounds pretty good. I'm not going to defeat that one really, but we're going to have a go with this dish first of all. We're going to do a simple little dish with cod with saffron mussels. Now we're going to talk about all these amazing ingredients that we got in front of us, because I know you're a keen gardener like I am as well. But we're going to talk about all these sort of quite on point, these ingredients as well at the moment. These little micro herbs and little sea vegetables as well. So the first thing I want to do is get our cod cooking. Now, you can do this with cod, you can do it with salmon. It's entirely up to you, but I just use a little bit of veg oil first of all, a little bit of butter, and this is going to pan fry the cod. I'm going to do it with a nice little bit of mussels that we've got in here. So a little bit of butter in there, get a nice bit of colour on it first of all. And then the cod that I've got in here, we're going to salt this. Just a decent amount of seasoning. I actually use table salt for this one rather than sea salt because I find it falls off. But Kaufman told me that. Yeah.
I think it became a bit too trendy for sea salt.
I just think it is. Yeah, proper salt. Not,
yeah.
Well, not so proper salt. That's proper salt.
Fine salt.
Yeah, exactly. But little fine salt. And we pop the cod in. I'm just going to get that crispy on the skin, and then we're just going to pop that straight in the oven. It doesn't take very long to cook. 6-7 minutes, we'll be cooking away nicely. That's that one ready. So we're going to hopefully, by the power of our satellite outside, go to Dereham in Norfolk now to speak to Alan Miller from Nurtured in Norfolk to tell us about these amazing little micro herbs. You there, Alan? I can see you. Not outside because it's cold. Yeah. So welcome to the show. So tell us about how this all started then, because you didn't start off as a gardener. You started off as a chef.
Yeah, years ago, 2009, I think it was. My business partner and myself were both chefs in a restaurant in Norwich, and we came across similar sorts of products that were being brought into the country from Holland, but it was very difficult to get them. You could get them one week, then they weren't available, then they were, then they weren't. And eventually, when we looked into what it was, the product was actually the little microherbs, we decided just to give it a bash ourselves on a windowsill in a conservatory, and lo and behold, all seeds want to do is grow.
That's how all the best ideas start.
Exactly. So that started.
Yeah.
That started in 2010. You made that transition, and like you say,
That's
I
right.
remember this back in 2010. These were becoming more popular.
Yeah, I think microherbs are fantastic.
But
to
again,
add to
quite
your
difficult to get
repertoire.
hold
Yeah,
of.
very much, yeah. So what's the most popular one you've got here, Alan?
Well, the most popular one we do is coriander.
Okay.
But the red amaranth purely and simply for its elevation, with the colour. The basil is extremely good, very strong, full of essential oils. The main herbs, your basil, your coriander, your parsley, some of them are more for decoration than they are for actual substance on a
So
plate.
how did it all start with you? You must have started with one or two. When you the two of you set up this little business, what was it? In a little. How did you go? Not where you are now. It started off in a little sort of plot of land, then, did it?
Yeah, well, we had a little 10-foot by 6-foot greenhouse to start with, and then got to the point where the back garden at Sue's house was totally taken over, to the annoyance of the neighbours because there were delivery drivers coming every day.
So how much space have you got now? How much space do you grow with?
We're on about 8 acres now.
Wow,
So we've
incredible.
got 4 acres, 4 acres undercover and 4 acres outdoors.
So tell us about, we got a selection of bits and pieces in here. I'm going to use some for garnish. We've got this red amaranth, which I love, the parsley and the basil. I suppose we can clump this all together. People can have a go in this, can't they? They can have a go in red amaranth. I've seen it for sale in the garden centre in seed form.
Yeah.
What is the best way of growing this if anybody wants to have a go?
It needs relatively dry conditions, but it'll need a little bit of warmth this time of year, but it'll quite happily grow on your windowsill. There's no rocket science to it. The only time you tend to have problems is when you scale up the volume of product that you're
I'm sure you're supposed to
producing.
say it's really difficult.
I think that's the key to it.
It's really hard.
Well, we all know with gardening though, it must have been a bit of a trial and error for you, because when I first started, I'm by no means a professional gardener like you are as well, and a producer. It is a bit of a trial and error thing, don't you think? Even with, it must be still that to this doing what you're doing, is it? If you want to try new things.
Yeah, the challenge comes, I think, when you try and grow multiple different products. Obviously, each herb requires different conditions. So to try and grow, especially commercially, to try and grow products in an environment where it's the same, there has to be compromises on what you can grow, how it grows, and all the different elements that you have, or the different problems you have with different pests and things.
Where do you think the popularity of this has come from? What do you put it down to?
Well,
I mean, you're at the forefront of...
Well, I think ultimately it's down to foraging, obviously, what they did in the Nordic movement, where foraging was very big, obviously, with all the wild stuff and the sea vegetables. But obviously, growing these microherbs, like Alan said, there's going to be an element of decoration, but ultimately it's about flavour. So getting the bronze fennel, getting the flowers, obviously can elevate a dish. And it's, again, like you said, there was a company, I think there still is a company that imported from Holland, but you surely want to be supporting British produce, don't we?
Well, Norfolk's amazing for so many different things, as we know, for vegetables, but, I believe, not just microherbs that you got there, saffron the saffron's produced in Norfolk is amazing. So just running through, we've talked about these mixtures over here. Tell us about these ones over here, because you've got me to taste this. This is called the little oyster leaf. Explain to us, because this does taste like oysters. It's amazing. Isn't it? How is that difficult to grow?
It is this time of year. They require a fair amount of heat, and they are what we would call a sort of perennial, where they will die back in the winter months. But my view of most of these products is that they just want to grow. So, give them the right condition, a bit of heat, a bit of water. These sea herbs we tend to water with a salt solution occasionally to give them that depth of flavour. But most of this product is there to grow. It's not. I know you're saying it's going to be. I should be saying it's difficult to grow, but it's one of those things where I think. If you're passionate about what you're going to use it with, and I always have been because I've obviously got the chef background, then obviously the passion then transpires through into growing the products as well.
So what's next for you then? You started with two of you. Yeah, you've got 8 acres, and now there's. I mean, believe when you're in the middle of summer at full flow, there's up to nearly 100 people working for you as well. What's next for you? Where do you see it going, or do you see it continuing to grow and get bigger and morph into a bigger business?
Yeah, I think so. I think we're trying now to think of other uses for the product. You've got some oils there on the table, which we're now developing. I think a lot of what we do now is based on the fact that kitchens are struggling for staff. The industry itself is struggling for employees in certain areas. So if we can do products and make the job a little bit easier, it uses product that we've got on site. It takes it to another level. So we're looking at drying our flowers and pressing our flowers to give longer shelf life on them.
Some of the flowers
we're in a
here as well.
transition at the moment where we've only ever dealt with fresh produce. Now we're going for produce which has got a far greater extended shelf life, which is a bit unique for us and not a position we're used to being in. But it's fantastic to think that we can have product that has got the shelf life.
Well, wish you all the very best with it, and thank you for joining us as well.
Thank you.
We're very jealous, and we all need to turn ourselves into gardeners, I think, as well.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Cheers, thank you.
So I'm just going to recap what we got in here. So I've got my fennel, I've got my shallots, I've got my tomatoes. That's all going to put a little bit of ginger. I've got the juice from the mussels. In we go with the mussel meat as well. That's going to go in there. I'm just going to warm that lot up. The cod, big chunk of cod, which I've roasted off. A little bit of that. Touch of lime in at the end. Touch of that. A little bit of that over there as well. And then finally, I'm going to take some of our mixture that we've got in here, and this is where you can. This is what I love about this. You can get excited about all these different types of food. But look at this. Just to put last minute, I think these ones. Do you think?
Yeah, definitely. I think the oyster would work well in there.
Oyster leaf. Would you have that raw, or would you cook that?
Yeah, that
just raw on the top. Yeah, I think just raw with it as well. So. As soon as we've got this chef in, I better season it properly, haven't we?
I'm actually in.
As if I haven't got much stress to think about, and then you go bring him along. You know, that's
I'm actually on a low salt diet at the moment.
Well, it's tough. So we're going to mix that together. Now,
Incredible.
that'll do. And then we've got our plate. I'm just going to check it again for seasoning now I said that. Yeah, a little bit more salt. That's going to go in there. And we'll just take this.
Look how simple it is, James, but also you've made it look so simple.
Well, I think, cooking can be as complicated as you want it to be. There's nothing wrong with that, is it really? But I think...
What a classic combo as well, mussels and cod.
For something like this, nice and simple. And then you can take, like I said, some of these oyster leaf that we talked about, which tastes amazing. I see Alan's looking at this as well, you see. Over the chef, you see. Make sure he's concentrating on what I'm doing with it. Make sure I'm not messing it up. A little bit of the old salty fingers, which that goes on there. And this is where you can just punch the flavour in. Touch of fennel. Over there as well. And then, like I said, it's got a little bit of this oil, which we'll use. We'll use a little bit of chive oil. There we go. We've got our fish. Bring this over.
Look at that. I'm salivating.
It's all right. It's all right. A little bit of this oil as well. There you go. And then, what else do you want on? Fennel?
Bit of basil.
Bit of basil?
It's like a pick and mix.
Well, exactly. It's like a chef's... You're exactly that. A little bit of that. There we go. A little bit of this. And I think that'll do us, really. We can experiment with a few more, but there you have it. Now you know where all these wonderful little micro herbs and different bits and pieces that you find in your supermarket come from. Just up the road in Norfolk. Wow. From a guy called Alan. Done. Easy as that. The pressure.
Yes.
The pressure. Cooking for a 2-star Michelin chef in your house. Good. Happy with that?
Oh, look at that. It's incredible.
Tasty food, that.
That's incredible.
It's a tasty plate of food, isn't it?
And obviously the skin like that with all that gelatine in it.
Seasoned all right? Not enough salt?
Perfect.
Right, still to go. This fella will be treating us to his chicken liver muesli, and singing sensation Alfie Boe will be here at the house very shortly. But don't go anywhere, because after the break, we've got some more quality cooking on the way from the brilliant Dipna Anand. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. This is lovely.
Oh.
Welcome back. Now, there's a masterclass in spring greens coming your way, and I'll be welcoming the world-renowned tenor Alfie Boe back into the kitchen very shortly. But before that, I thought I'd take a look at some of the amazing dishes you've been cooking at home, and you guys have been so busy. First up, we've got Scott Neal, who barbecued this amazing tomahawk steak and served it with baby baked potatoes and a beautiful chimichurri dressing. Next up, a big well done goes to Sarah Trimmer, who had a go at that sticky toffee pudding roulade I made right here at the house on Christmas Day. A lot of people tried that, to be honest with you, and she didn't forget the clotted cream that goes with it and that pouring sauce over the top. The key to that, really, is less flour in the recipe, which enables you to roll it all up to stop it from cracking. And finally, top marks this week has to go to Craig Dusko Carman for this incredible dessert of homemade chocolate chantilly cream, wafers, crushed and candied hazelnuts. I don't know how you eat it, but it looks impressive. Now, do keep sending your pictures and videos coming in. We'd love to see what you've been inspired to cook at home. OK, it's time to get more cooking done, this time to sit back and watch the professionals do it. So this week, we're heading to the kitchens of the famous brilliant restaurant in Southall for some first-class Indian cuisine from Saturday morning regular, the brilliant Dipna Anand. Enjoy this one.
I'm here at my restaurant in Southall, the Brilliant, and just before I start my shift, I'm going to show you a quick, simple recipe of how to use leftover veg. These stuffed parathas are divine. Right, to begin with, we've got some chapati flour here, and we're going to go ahead and add some vegetable oil, which is going to give it a nice, soft texture. Just a touch of vegetable oil goes in. I need some salt as well, just for seasoning. We are going to season the filling as well, so not too much salt. And now what I'm going to go ahead and do is add the water to my dry chapati flour, and as I am adding, I'm mixing using my fingers to begin with, just until all the dough starts to come together. Just getting all that dry flour mixed right in to that dough, cleaning the edges of that bowl. You really want to give this dough a massage, I say. Use your knuckles and your muscle at the same time. Now, this is not one of those doughs that you can overwork like short crust or anything like that. This is chapati dough. In fact, the more you knead it, the better the texture of your chapati. Right, give it one more clean on the edges of the bowl. This is the same dough we use to make fluffy hot chapatis as well. It is perfect. What I need to do is just round the dough using just the palm and my fingers like this. And now I need to leave this dough to prove. Even though there is not a proving agent, you still want to leave this dough to rest. It will just ensure that you have nice clean edges on your paratha. Let's leave that to rest for about 30 minutes, and we can get on with the stuffing in the meantime, using leftover veg from a roast I had yesterday. Now, bung whatever you like into this. Potatoes, cauliflower, broccoli, carrots. Stuffed parathas are divine either which way. And I don't believe you don't have leftover veg. You need a food blender just to blend all your veg together. Give it a little mix around. You just want your vegetables nice and broken down. A little bit of texture is good. Let's go again. That is perfect. Exactly the right texture, just as I want it. Right, I've got some mashed potato. I'm gonna get all that delicious veg into my mashed potato. Really, whatever veg you have lying around, bung it in to your stuffing for your parathas. And now let's spice these up. So we need some green chili. to add a nice chili kick. Not too spicy. Some red chili. I need some cumin powder, and also at this stage, some garam masala. Now remember, when you're cooking a curry, garam masala always goes in at the end. But if you're making a stuffing, it doesn't really matter because you're going to cook that off at the end anyway. So a bit of garam masala, the king of spice there. And whilst I'm mixing, I'm going to go in with some lemon juice. My mum taught me this trick. It adds such a beautiful tang inside those stuffed parathas. Also helps combine everything together. And let's not forget our coriander, a fresh, zesty, lemony taste. I love coriander. You can even add some fenugreek, maybe. Parsley will be good in this as well. Whatever you have, really. Who says a stuffed paratha has to be potato only? And my dough's probably ready by this time as well. Let's get stuffing. What we do to begin with, to make our stuffed parathas, is tear off a dough ball, probably about 30 to 40 grams in weight, and another one. Now, this is the simplest and easiest way that I find you make parathas. My mum taught me this way. Right, let's get rolling. So what you're doing is dipping one of the dough balls into some dry chapati flour, and then you are shaping it into a disc and using your fingertips just to expand the edges of the disc like this, and do the same to the other one. But you have to ensure that your dough ball is nice and round, and that is the secret to nice, round, stuffed parathas. Sometimes in an Indian restaurant, you can be spoilt for choice. Which bread do you order? I mean, you've got chapatis. Chapatis are made from chapati flour, the whole wheat flour, as well as the parathas. Then you've got the naan breads, which are cooked in the clay oven, whereas the chapatis are tossed over the tawa in a naked flame. Which one would I opt for? Always a paratha. Right, 2 discs like this, and now you want to get some of your filling. Get a good, generous helping of it, and what you're doing is putting it right into the middle of one of those discs like this, and then the other disc goes over. And then what you do, now this is a bit of a secret, you seal the edges, but whilst you're sealing the edges, you press down your filling so that it's evenly distributed. Right, I dip my stuffed bread or bread dough into my dry flour, back down again, and I press, and then I start to roll out using my rolling pin. And as you can see, the dough, like magic, is starting to rotate by itself. Now that happens when I apply some pressure to my rolling pin, but not too much. And don't worry if there's a little bit of stuffing coming out, that's absolutely fine. Turn it over and roll out so that it's just as thin as you want it. Right, that looks perfect to me. My tawa is preheating. Now a tawa at home looks a bit like this. You can use a crepe pan or you can use a frying pan. That's going to do the job as well. So let's take our, what will be stuffed paratha, and whack it right onto that tawa. Now, key tip is you want to let it half cook on one side and then flip it over, let it half cook on the other side before you apply this delicious ghee. Naughty, but nice. These stuffed parathas are divine, and with that ghee, even better. You can see the brown dots appearing, telling me my paratha is almost semi-cooked on one side. And you'll know when it's ready to be turned over because it won't be like a flimsy dough. We can start to apply on the side that's already half cooked. So what you're doing is really being generous with your ghee. Don't shy away. This is a paratha. You're allowed to be naughty here. Look at this. You really want to hear that sizzle of ghee. That is what a paratha is all about. Yeah. All right, do the same to the other side. You can really smell this. Wow. Now, a little bit more ghee. Better stop now. And that is a paratha cooked to perfection. Both sides, perfect. just as I want it. What a great way to use up all your leftover veg. That is your paratha, cooked to perfection. Done.
Now, still to come, Chef Sally Aby will be serving up a dish of pork and peas pudding, and there's a masterclass in spring greens coming your way a little bit later with crispy fried seaweed. But join us after the break when we're treating West End and Broadway star Alfie Boe to some mouth-watering Barnsley lamb chops under the grill. Delicious. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now, coming up, we'll be enjoying another cracking plate of food from Chef Sally Aby. But first, I'm here with one of the country's finest tenors whose voice has wowed audiences everywhere, from the West End stage to Vegas. It's the brilliant Alfie Boe! Welcome back, Chief. I thought for this, really, I was looking at the list of ingredients that you're fell in love with. I know you're a big foodie as well. You travel all over the place. Yeah. Barnsley chop was one of those things, and kidneys. So,
I love it.
So I wanted to show people, and this is where I've got a friendly local butcher that's managed it. When I used to buy Barnsley, well, I didn't used to buy, my granny used to buy Barnsley chop. I was only 6. But she used to go to the butcher's and have Barnsley chops, proper Barnsley chops, and they would always have kidney in it.
Right.
And the kidneys you can see are attached to, because what they'd normally do is take the kidneys out,
right,
and Barnsley chops would be just the two joined together. So that's where your Barnsley chop comes from. A little bit of the fillet, a little bit of the loin, which got in here, and then some of your kidney. And I'm just going to basically simply cook these with a little sauce of air in this amazing potato dish as well that I'm going to serve with it. So for this...
I can smell those already.
The potatoes smell amazing, I know. We're going to take our chops on here and then basically just going to grill these nice and simple. So, first of all, I want to say congratulations on what a career.
Thank you.
and the list of things that you're up to for this year as well just is immense, that, you know, the stuff that you're doing. You're writing... Let's first of all pick through, because you're writing a musical.
I've got it in my head. I want to write a musical this year and
right.
and start that. I'm going to I think I'm going to sort of base it on a few different stories that I've gone through. Obviously, there's going to be an evil villain in there, which is based on Michael Boe.
Because there is a connection between the theatre side of it and Michael Boe. Because wasn't Michael Boe that said you should need to do that? Because your career, you're almost going to give it up.
Yeah, I mean, there was times I think everybody sort of second-guessed whether it's worth it and all that sort of stuff. Yeah. But I stuck at it and I did it. And when I was doing a show with Michael Kismet, we were at the London Coliseum, and it was a terrible production. It was awful. People came to see it to see how bad it was, right, okay. You know. And but one of the guys...
Not your fault, by the way.
Not my fault, no. Okay. One of the guys that did come to see it was Cameron McIntosh. Yeah. And Cameron, on Michael's recommendation, came to see me sing
Not to see how bad it was.
No,
just
to sort of
how
see
good you were.
To sort of give me an opportunity of singing the role of Jean Valjean for the 25th anniversary of Les Miserables. So,
quite a big show.
It was a pretty big show.
So what about the writing of one, then? Because that... You know, you start with a blank sheet of paper.
Yeah.
That must be extremely difficult.
Yeah, I mean, it's important, I think, obviously, to have the concept of the show. And then it's like a jigsaw. You start putting it all together. You write the story, you develop the characters, you write the music. I want this musical actually to be sung from beginning to end. Right. So with no dialogue in it at all. So you don't have the dialogue and then burst into song.
Now, are you writing that for you as a lead in it, or...?
No, I'd probably... Well, I wouldn't play the young love interest anyway. I'd probably be an old guy in it for a while. But no, I'm writing it just because it's something I've always wanted to do. Yeah. It's a storyline that I think is pretty strong. The musical that I'm going to do, it's called Bad Boy, so it's sort of based a little bit around myself in a sense. A few different stories that reflect what I've
Because you're doing the book
through.
at the same time as doing that. You're writing this memoir. Is that like an autobiography? Is that at the same time? Is that?
It is. It's an autobiography, but the book really focuses on music in a big way, and music that was influencing me at that particular time in whatever chapter I'm writing about. Right. It's the music that reflects that period in my life.
But I want to go right back, and this is where I love affair of cars.
Yeah.
Because you were working
I was a Matt Blacker.
Yes.
At TVR. So at
TVR?
At TVR.
At the factory?
In Bispam, in Blackpool, yeah.
And how do you then... Did you get spotted for that? You were singing to... What?
Yeah, I was doing...
How? What?
I was doing a few amateur operatics, but I always used to sing around the factory. And then while singing around the factory, a customer who was buying one of the cars overheard me singing and said, you know, you should become a singer. There's a company in London that are auditioning for the next tour, the chorus for the next tour. Come down, sing to them, take a day off work and see how it goes. And I thought, well, I've got nothing to lose. So I did, took the day off work, went down in my work boots and my jeans because I had to come back and do a night shift after.
Yeah.
And they took me on.
Well, we're going to... it's an amazing story. It'll be brilliant when you put pen to paper. Like I said, it's a fascinating story how it all starts. I'm just going to recap what we've got here because we're booling on ahead here. So we've got a little bit of sauce. Our sauce is just some veal stock. You can buy this stuff from the supermarket nowadays. That's the little bit of veal stock's going in there. Now, what I've got in here is I've got some Maris Piper potatoes that have been basically cooked with the skins on. Peel the skins off, let them go cold, and we slice them up. All right? This isn't my recipe. This is a wonderful chef called Sean Hill, one of the legends in our industry, one of the most amazing chefs there is. He runs a restaurant called the Walnut Tree in Wales, and this is his sort of recipe. But you can see, look, the broccoli that I've just grilled. So many times with broccoli, you just put it in the pan. Salt and pepper, olive oil, grill it. It's cooked really quickly. The chops are cooking away nicely, which we've got in here. And then what we do with the potatoes, you thinly slice them, well, not so thinly slice them, but you slice them like this, chop them all up. This is right up there with some of the greatest potato dishes I've ever tasted in my life. Right. And I've tasted quite a lot, hence you can see the size that I am now. But this is, you slice them up, and then you take the potatoes like that, and you roll them in the butter.
Oh, that's vicious, man.
We haven't started anything yet.
Really?
This is not. This is just the very beginning, Alfie.
Right.
You start the potatoes like that. You roll them around in here.
So those potatoes cooked all the way through?
They cooked all the way through, just cooked. So you cook them with the skins on. So these are Maris Pipers, and then you roll them around this butter like that. And then we can then take our dishes, and then you divvy these out in between the dishes. But we've got to talk about everything you're doing as well. Okay. But we're almost... This is quite interesting where I was reading about you. You're going on tour, which I know for you, the live performances are what you love.
Yeah, I mean, playing live is everything to me. I think that's what every, artist wants to do, is just to play to a live audience and get that instant sort of feedback. You must feel it when you're on stage and you have that connection with an audience.
It's the same thing about doing dishes like this. I get much more enjoyment about seeing your face is going, this is amazing. You haven't seen the potatoes that are in here yet, but all this sort of stuff, when you're cooking together and creating these live things, it excites you as well. Yours the same sort of thing.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I'm...
Don't look at this bit. This is double cream and full fat milk going on here.
Oh, lovely.
Double cream, full fat milk, and then in the oven for about 40 minutes.
Beautiful.
All right.
Well, this tour that I'm on, September, October, it's going to be sort of mostly a lot of my old stuff, some original music I've written, but mainly the new album that I've got coming out in the spring.
So this is the other thing.
Oh my goodness!
Look at these. Look at these. These are these potatoes things. You just
forget the tour.
So we're going to swap that. So these are the potatoes things. You know it's going to be good. Look at it. You just know it's going to be good like that. And you take the potatoes, stick these in here, and these cook. So as well as the tour and everything else. You're doing the album.
Yes, I've got an album out as
and
well.
you're working on this. This is a working project as we speak.
Yeah.
So how do you decide with the album what to do? Whether you go rocky, whether you go classic? How do you decide, or do you decide, or is that?
I'd sort of come up with, in conjunction with my management, with the record label, we decide come up with an idea, a concept of what the album should be. But also, having a fan base, you have to think very sensibly and think, hang on a minute, I've got to please the fans, I've got to give them what they want, but also push the boundaries a little bit, take some chances.
And I guess when you're touring and stuff like that, people want you to do the new stuff, but you mustn't forget where it all. People still want the classics.
They want the operatic arias. They want Les Miserables. And it's putting a show together is is similar to, or writing your own music is similar to a cooking recipe. It has different flavours.
Yeah.
You know, it has the loud and the soft.
Well, I'm glad you said that, because that's exactly what we're doing now.
There you go.
Because this is a little salsa verde, and you can do this. You don't even need to do this in a bowl. This is olive oil, lemon juice, salt, pepper, capers, anchovies, parsley, mint in there as well. I've got the sauce done, which is reduced down, and you just mix all this lot together, and then we're ready to sort of plate. The lamb is sat there resting like that with the kidneys, and
you
then
didn't even turn that over. You just
no. Well, my granny never did that. Really, she couldn't be. She did it, but I don't think she'd be bothered to turn it over because it all starts to break up if you start messing around with it too much.
Right,
but
right.
I just like the simplicity of this sort of stuff. So you take the broccoli, which is, I mean, to grill it like that, it saves so much. You don't even need to do anything with it. And the potatoes, this is
the exciting.
So you need these to come out of the oven beforehand, because these are like sort of volcanic liquid
and healthy.
Well, don't worry about that. You know, if you're going to come to this house, what do you expect?
I know,
you see?
exactly.
I want people fed. You're going to take this, and then the lamb chops.
I love
the
this
kidney
sort of
in.
food. It just reminds you so much of home and wholesome and solid food. That you...
Yeah, and food.
Yeah.
That's the thing. And then you've got your chunk of salsa verde, which goes on the top. Like that, which is kind of like the sort of a different variant of mint sauce, I suppose, but with the capers, and you don't have to put anchovies in it and capers and that kind of stuff, but that's the classic way. And then we've got our little sauce over here, just to utilise that leftover bit of butter.
How did you thicken that? Just with
That's just by reducing it down with a little nub of butter.
Right.
There you go. But that goes on there. I'm going to have to send you some, because looking at your schedule, you're far too busy to be getting in the cooking and start making sauces as well.
I love to cook as well, you know, but...
You don't get a chance doing everything else. We're going to talk more about... There's still loads more to talk about later on in the show, but there you have it, my grilled Barnsley chops, salsa verde, the most amazing potato dish ever. And that's it. Easy as that.
Hey.
There we go.
Hey.
Bon appetit.
Thank you so much, man.
It's like a roast dinner, isn't it? Look at that.
Certainly is.
Come to my house, you get a Sunday roast.
Oh, look at that. Stunning.
Lamb's amazing, isn't it?
Stunning.
Just with the potatoes, everything else. Yeah.
And the salsa. Everything, all the flavours.
You're going to stick around all morning as well. We're going to chat about everything else you're doing.
I'm going to eat yours as well.
Exactly, it's going to be mine as well. We'll talk to it, but there we have it. Alfie Boe, everybody.
Thank you. Brilliant.
I'll be making a raspberry genoise sponge for Alfie at the end of the show, so save room for that. And I'll be tucking into another genius recipe from Chef Sat Baines a little bit later. You don't want to miss that one as well. But join me after the break, when the brilliant Sally Aby will be turning her hands at the hobs to make an amazing dish of her very own. I'll see you after the break.
Hey.
Welcome back. Now we've got a masterclass in spring greens coming your way, and I'll be dishing up a raspberry genoise sponge for Alfie Boe a little bit later on in the show. But first, I'm here with Sat Baines, and we're getting ready to enjoy a dish from a chef who's made her name in culinary hotspots in the like of the Ledbury and the Howard Arms before setting up shop in one of London's finest hotels. It's the brilliant Sally Aby. Wonderful to have you back.
Thank you.
And particularly when you come armed with this.
Yes.
Tell us, this is very, very special that you're going to be cooking this.
Yeah, so this is a really special piece of pork. So it's Iberico pork, but it's actually from the UK. So it's the first of its kind from the UK. My old boss, Brett Graham, basically imported these pigs.
He just happens to be a decent chef.
Yeah, pretty decent. So he imported these pigs during lockdown, and he's now breeding them on a farm in Wales, and we're lucky enough to use them. Yeah.
Right, so you're going to be cooking that with what? Because this is quite an interesting... You're going to be cooking it with peas pudding.
Yeah, so... Peas pudding is a probably one of the oldest English sort of dishes. So they would have cooked this before potatoes even arrived in the UK in medieval times. And it's, really, really cheap yellow peas,
Lentils,
but you can make it taste amazing.
Base, Good. Right, I know you're going to get on and talk about the pork first.
So we're just going to
do the veg, which is... You're leaving this veg quite chunky.
Yeah, so you just chop that into sort of 3 or 4 pieces, and then you can put it in this pan with the peas, and then we've just got some chicken stock here.
Yeah.
Traditionally, it's made with ham hock stock, but I think most people won't have ham hock stock kicking around at home, so you can quite easily do it with chicken stock as well.
Don't know. He might have ham hocks. You never know.
Yeah.
Right, you want the bay leaf in this?
Yeah, and the bay leaf in there, and a bit of that thyme as well.
So this was at the time of the Ledbury. We mentioned the Ledbury. This is with bread.
Yeah.
Tell us about your place now. Tell everybody where you are now.
So my restaurant's called The Pem, and it's in the Conrad Hotel in Westminster. So we've just been open for 18 months now. So
right. And why did you call it The Pen?
The Pem. So it's named after Emily Wilding Davison, who was a prominent suffragette. Right. And her nickname was Pem, so her parents and her friends used to call her Pem. We just thought it sounded nice. And a lot of what I do is around empowering women in kitchens and in hospitality in general. So I wanted to dedicate it to a strong woman.
Fantastic.
That's what we
Fantastic. So, right, we've got you put a little salt on there. Now, interesting enough with this, you've trimmed off some of the fat because the Iberico is known for it is sometimes quite fatty.
It can be quite fatty, yeah. I mean, I think the fat would have been like this, but I personally don't like to eat masses and masses of fat, so I've trimmed it off. It's got a lot of fat and marbling run through it already, so it's going to be really rich, so it doesn't need that extra fat necessarily.
Because they use a lot of that for lardo as well, don't they? Yeah. The belly side of it as well, which is amazing.
Yeah. And what's the diet, Sally? Is it what are they feeding?
It's acorns, so same as it would be in Spain, yeah.
It's incredible.
But,
so you've got the name of the restaurant. Tell us about the restaurant itself, then.
The food's modern British. I like to.
How do you class modern British nowadays? Because modern British can mean a bit of everything, can't it?
Yeah. Well, we use.
Does that generalise a bit of everything now?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we use as many ingredients from the UK as possible. So all our obviously meat and fish is from the UK. Yeah. We don't use like pasta or rice or anything that comes from other cuisines or other cultures. Yeah. And I try and get a lot of my recipe inspiration from old recipe books and use a lot of nostalgia. Like this, for example, is about as old as you can get with recipes. But there's a lot of really amazing old recipe books knocking around, like Florence Gray and Margaret. And
I've got quite a few of them over here.
Yeah, and I just think it's really nice to look through them and look at the old recipes and then sort of update them in my own way.
Right, so you're sitting off the pot. Tell us about what you've got in here then. What are you using here?
So these are turnip tops. So these ones have actually got baby turnips attached to them, and then these ones are just the tops they would have been from big turnips. Yeah. They've just got a really lovely bitter flavour, which I think goes really nicely because I'm going to use the sweet crab apple jelly. It gives it like a nice bit of balance. Right. And I'm actually just going to cook them in the pan with the pork. Saves on washing up.
Love it.
So just a bit of butter in there and a bit of thyme.
Now, interesting enough, you did this off camera. You're very particular with your spoons, aren't you?
Yeah, it has to be this shape. I don't like the round ones.
Yeah, I thought I was going to get them thrown at me at one point.
You should definitely get rid of them round ones.
Yeah. See me picking through them. I have a particular shaped, pointy one in the kitchen that's the only one that I like to use. I don't know why. So just baste that up like that. Right. And then I just trim these down a little bit. That's a bit woody.
I mean, you must be... The great thing about your cuisine as well, you utilise... I remember tasting that beetroot dish.
Yeah.
Another famous one of yours. To make vegetables taste as good as that, I don't think there's any person who can make veg taste like you can do it.
But I think it's harder to cook vegetables than it is protein.
Yeah. Well, when
to get it in a gastronomic level, it's like there's so much work involved, but you've got to make it as stand next to the pork.
Yeah.
So there's a lot more thought in there.
Yeah. Well, I think with this, if you this will take about 8 minutes to cook in the oven. So if you just put these in with it, it just takes in all that lovely fat and flavour.
So you put thyme in there as well, and it's only in there for 8 minutes.
About 8 to 10 minutes, at 160. So
right, we've got one resting as well. So tell us about the peas pudding thing, because I know you want to finish this off. So this
will take about 20 to 30 minutes to cook, and you want the peas to be completely cooked through, none of this al dente stuff. And then
none of this al dente stuff. None of that stuff.
And then basically when they're cooked, I do it in a robo-coupe to sort of a rough paste, but you can also just get a potato masher and mash it down.
But this is, I mean, dare I say, a very northern dish.
It's a very, very northern dish, yes, but I'm from the Midlands, so it's got history in lots of places in the UK, actually. So basically what I've done is mash that down, so it's kind of a paste. Yeah. And you can make it any consistency you want, really. If you want it a little bit runnier and sort of...
So you've just done it you haven't blended it or anything, you've just
mashed it down, yeah. So cook that out and then mash it down to get this, and then we're just going to put in some butter. Yeah. Because I know you love butter, James.
Your reputation is ahead of you.
I don't know what you're talking about, Chief. So do you found that you found your home now in this restaurant? Do you found that...
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I probably wouldn't have chosen to go for a hotel in the beginning, but it's actually worked out really
It has
well.
its advantages, doesn't it, really?
Yeah, big time, yeah. I mean, we've got a great team. We've got, out of 8 chefs in the kitchen, 6 of them are women. So it's something that I feel really passionate about. So it's nice to have that in the team. And then, yeah, it's going really well. And I think we're getting good feedback on the food. And, yeah, it's nice. And one of the other nice things is, because it's in a hotel, they're good with the hours. So the chefs don't work more than 45 hours a week, which is
Which I know that's
unusual.
really you're keen on as well.
Oh, I think the whole movement of changing the culture of restaurants it's in our hands, isn't it? So we've got to make a statement and lead the way, really. So
yeah, you've got to.
Well, otherwise we won't get the younger generation coming through and everything else.
Make it attractive, isn't it?
I think the only way, with the staff shortages and everything in hospitality, the only way to fix that is to make it a better place to be.
More desirable place to work.
Yeah,
exactly.
So you're near the House of Parliament, aren't you?
Right. Yeah, we're right next to it. Yeah.
So any gossip?
I couldn't possibly say.
Oh, sorry.
I couldn't possibly say.
After.
Yeah.
Camera off.
So I've just got a bit of pork sauce here, but you could use chicken jus. You can buy the jus in the supermarket.
You can buy the veal stock now in the supermarket.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So what you could always do, if you've got a bit of trim from the pork, is just quickly roast that from the pan and then add the veal jus on top.
Okay.
And then I'm just going to finish this with mustard, because it just goes really nicely with the dish. And I love
Quite
mustard.
a good chunk of mustard as well. You're using 2 different types.
I love mustard. Yeah, so you've got the heat from this, and then you've got the flavour and the texture from the whole grain mustard as well.
Because you have to rewatch it can be quite strong, this English mustard. But
it is incredible. Especially with that fatty pork, isn't it brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So that'll go in there. Just bring that up to a boil.
So the pork I'll take out now. We've just left this one to rest.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. So you can see the turnip tops are all cooked down nicely there as well. Yeah, lovely.
Happy with that?
Yeah, happy with that.
I love this peas pudding. You've used the vinegar? That's
yeah, so I've got some vinegar and butter in here.
Okay.
And then we'll get the...
You said you're going to glaze it with this, so...
Yes, so this is a crab apple jelly that we made last summer, well, the end of last summer when crab apples were in season. So it's actually really, really easy to make, and crab apples grow everywhere in the UK, so it's really...
Grow in my garden, I've got loads of them.
Yeah, exactly, yeah, and it's just literally apples, water and sugar, and then you cook it down and the natural pectin sets it, so it's just going to make the pork chop taste really good. So good smear of that on there.
Look at that.
Proper honest grub, isn't it, really? It's your type of food, isn't it, really?
It is, and I don't know why I don't know what I'm doing there.
But you know, with chefs, if you ask chefs what chefs eat...
Oh, God, exactly,
this kind of stuff. Yeah. What you cook in the restaurant is different things.
No, exactly, yeah.
Right.
So it's not really any way to make that look particularly glamorous, but... There we go.
That's proper grub, isn't it? Look at that. These are amazing when they caramelise in the pan with everything else. So this is a dish on your menu, then? Is this...
I had this on the menu at Harwood Arms when I was running that. It's more
You do realise when people see this, they're going to expect to see this on the menu.
Well, maybe it can make a little appearance on the lunch menu.
Exactly. Yeah. Right.
There we go, and I'll just finish it off with a little bit of the sauce.
Just know that tastes amazing. So give us the name of this dish.
So this is a roast Iberico pork chop with peas pudding and turnip tops.
Possibly available at the restaurant. You've just got to go either lunch or dinner.
Space, yeah.
To be decided, but there you have it. Sally, everybody. Amazing dish. Really simple, lovely, beautiful. Right, bon appetit.
Oh, yes.
I can't believe we've given that to you, because I've got mine about ready, which should be about perfect. So if Sally can just finish that off with a little bit of glaze, that will do for me.
There you go. Do you want me to do one up?
Yeah, thank you.
Oh.
Tasty? He's enjoying that. Look, he's enjoying that one. Yeah. Oh. And so often you can take that peas pudding and let it go cold and pan fry it. I remember having that as a kid.
Exactly, yeah.
You'd pan fry
it's kind of similar
peas
to
pudding's
polenta,
incredible.
really. You can,
Yeah, I remember having it, and my granny used to sort of pat it and then fry it as well, which was
I think that
probably
vinegar
the reason
in
why
there
I'm the size I am, to be
incredible.
honest with you. That was fried in butter.
The vinegar in that is incredible.
Yeah.
Just cuts through it.
But it's got to be the malt vinegar, hasn't it? Yeah, That's the thing to it, but
Wow.
happy with that?
Yeah.
Go on,
Might be a
then.
bit hot to eat, but...
Go on, I'm going to have a little taste of this. I've got to have a little taste. This amazing. Okay, perfect. Perfect.
Look at that. Beautiful.
That's a great plate of food, isn't it?
Oh,
Particularly with that crab
Amazing
apple
stuff.
jelly over the top. It's wonderful, that. Sally, everybody. Best of luck with the restaurant as well.
Thank you.
You're doing amazing. I'll be showing you how to use the best of seasonal spring greens in this week's Still Masterclass, and I'll be making an epic dessert for my guest Alfie Boe a little bit later. But join us again after the break when Sally, Sat and me will be delving into the post bag again to try and answer some of your cooking questions. I'll see you in a bit. That is delicious. How good is that? Welcome back. Now we're giving you a masterclass in spring greens very shortly. There's still loads more to come from my guest, Alfie Boe. But first, we always like to help out on the show by answering some of your questions about food and cooking. So today I thought that Sally and I would dive into the mailbag and tackle a few of your kitchen dilemmas out in the cold. It's actually not too bad out here, as it is.
it's beautiful.
It is crisp, exactly. So we've got loads of questions here. So I've got to first of all go to Tony Bishop. This is the first question. As chefs, do you have any meals that would be perfect as hangover cures?
I think a bacon
Thank you very much.
sandwich,
Bacon
yeah,
sandwich.
fry up. It has to be
Are you fried bacon or are you grilled bacon?
fried bacon.
Oh, yes. This is
Fried.
grilled bacon, fried bread.
But if you fry the bacon,
Fried
you
bread.
can fry the bread in the bacon fat.
Oh, hello. 2 for 1
There
again.
you go.
Moving on. Amy Hussain, how can you make a cheaper cut steak taste really nice?
I mean, I think if it's a cheaper cut of beef, for example,
Yep.
you cook it low and slow and braise it in sort of red wine. That will get the best flavour out of it.
Yep.
If it's cheap because it's poor quality, then I'd suggest just having less.
All that, what's the omelette?
Yeah?
Yeah,
Omelette,
yeah, yeah.
which is the
flash
French
Yeah,
style.
yeah, yeah.
So quick fry, so it's nice, still rare.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But you're still getting that kind of texture and depth of flavour as well. So
Sounds pretty good. We're getting through these. Ruth Lemon, I recently bought a pressure cooker. Have you got any great recipes? What can I do in it? So I always think lamb shanks in a pressure cooker, or, I mean, you're cooking split peas, beans,
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
I would always use it for beans and, legumes, lentils, that
Oxtail.
kind of thing, chickpeas.
very
yeah.
good.
Yeah, yeah.
Anything gelatinous?
There you go. They're flying off this one. Tom Callan, I've got a pasta machine for Christmas. Have you got a recipe to make an easy ravioli filling?
I'm sure Jamie has, yeah.
Easy ravioli filling.
I think like a really simple one would just be to like bake some pumpkin and then mix in some ricotta and then some chopped sage. That would be like a really simple 3 ingredients.
You can use, they've got
filling.
those amaretti biscuits as well. I
yes,
think that you
classic,
can crumble
yeah.
them in. And you don't have to roast pumpkin, you can actually buy it in a tin now as well.
Can
What,
you?
pumpkin puree?
Is it
You can get
nice?
pumpkin puree in a tin.
Really?
Last time you went to the supermarket was when?
On what day is today? Yesterday. I went yesterday.
Where you did go around the
I
pumpkins.
didn't go looking for pumpkin puree.
It is in there. It is in there. Emma James, what are the essential herbs and spices in your kitchen?
Oh, I love all. I cook a lot of Asian food at home, so I've always got cumin and coriander. I love adding that.
Cumin,
to
I've got to
everything,
say.
yeah.
See, for me, pickled ginger and soy.
Yeah.
Love them. Anything. Soy's on everything.
Yeah.
Caesar salad yesterday, soy.
But there's good soy and there's...
Well, you know, you can get the aged one, which we've had at the restaurant, but I just use the one from the supermarket next door to the pumpkin.
Next time the pumpkin. There you go. I mean, spices-wise, you've done about cumin and stuff like that. I would buy little and often. I think that's
Yeah,
a good
yeah,
spice
yeah.
as well.
And it's better to buy whole spices and toast them than buy ground ones because they just lose their flavour.
Exactly. Right, here, I know we love cooking outside as well. This is relevant for this. I've recently built, this has come from Michelle and Paul McBreeze. I've recently built an outdoor oven like James, and we've mastered cooking pizza on there. What else can I do on it? We'd love to try cooking meat slowly, but don't know how to control the temperature.
I think it's something like a braise in a like a cast iron pot with a lid on. Do like a hot pot, something like that. It's brilliant because you move it around.
Yeah.
And you can see when it's bubbling, take the lid off, put it back, move it. And there's also, you can push the fire, as you know,
Yeah.
to one side to control the heat a bit more.
I mean, I cook on that quite a bit. So when you finish the pizzas and bits and pieces, because it's about 500 degrees in there, it's quite hot. Leg of lamb in hay. So just take hay, just from the pet shop, not from your rabbit hutch. It's added bits of sultanas, you're finding that one. But put your lamb, leg of
What
lamb
are
on
these
it.
little Maltesers in it?
Put your lamb on, put the lid on and just gently cook it. Shoulder of lamb in there, not in the hay, but shoulder of lamb. Things like tagines are brilliant in there.
And how long does it take?
Overnight. You just
Oh,
leave,
really?
leave it in there and just just leave it.
Like the old-fashioned boulanger style.
Boulanger potatoes. That's the rare. Boulanger potatoes were basically potatoes that were sliced with onions that you would make in the village, that they would bring up to the baker's oven. Boulanger being a baker's oven. The bread would be cooked in the baker's oven by the baker, and then everybody would use the residual heat from the oven to cook their potatoes. That's why pomme boulanger existed. There you go in the farms. There we go. So there you go. Right. So we're cracking a few of these as well. Michaela Riley says she's been growing a load of artichokes at home. That's my dog barking, so excuse me about that. I've got a load of artichokes at home. Have you got any ideas of what can use them up? There's little sort of purple artichokes she's got.
The Jerusalem.
Yeah. No, the little artichokes, the globe
The
artichokes.
violet ones.
Violet.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, classically, braise them in a blanc, so like lemon juice,
Yeah.
some aromats, some croix seeds toasted, and just water, salt, and just braise them gently, and then just pick them, peel them, dip in a bit of warm hollandaise. You're laughing.
I've got another question here. How can you control a crazy dog? This is from James from Hampshire.
Feed it.
You feed it. Feed it. It's getting enough feed, to be honest. Right. This one's from Amanda. What is the correct cut of beef to use in beef Wellington?
Fillet.
There is only one, no? And if you want to experiment with this and use venison,
Loin and venison, yeah.
yeah, it's got to be something that's nice and tender. That's the key. And are you cooking the beef beforehand, or do you seal it and then cook it in the
Seal it and then
Seal
cook
it,
it in
yeah.
the pastry.
Seal
Yeah.
it,
Do people cook it before? Is that a thing?
I've seen it cooked
Really?
beforehand, slowly, and then they crank up the oven and cook it for about 20 minutes. You can, either way
Cook
works.
what beforehand? The beef?
Cook the beef beforehand.
And then put it in the pastry?
Yes.
Oh, really? Not seen that before.
No, I've not seen it.
Don't do that one if you're watching. There you go. That's it. Henry Clark, if you had one meal, if you could eat one meal every day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Mashed potato and gravy.
That was straight off. That was straight out of the
Death
park.
row meal.
Right. Mashed potato and gravy.
Yeah.
Just
that, yeah. I love mashed potato.
I think it's going to be a ribeye steak.
ribeye steak.
Yeah, with nothing.
With
Just
nothing?
Salt, just salt.
See, mine would be fish, chips, mushy peas,
Really?
buttered bread. Yeah. And none of that. I don't want that.
If
so
you do that every day, you're not going to live long.
I'd enjoy myself though, wouldn't I? Really? Right, we got one more question because this relates to both of you. As this is about food waste, really, because both of you have done projects on that as well and everything else. Is there anything I can make using vegetable peel or scraps from Rowan?
So we did a recipe that I think it was is it Elizabeth David did a book in the rations in the war,
Yeah.
and she made a carrot marmalade, and it was mind blowing. So she only used one orange, the rest of it was carrots,
Right.
like the trim and everything,
Using all the peel and
everything, and then you basically had this beautiful orange marmalade, but it tasted of orange, but you had the sweetness of the carrot. And when we did a bread and butter pudding with it. And it works, and we know we've done it, and it's fantastic.
Is there anything you could do with peeled potatoes? Because she'll have a lot if she's eating mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
Fry them. They've got to be fried,
yeah.
are they?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I mean, I think with most vegetables, as long as you clean the outside of them
You don't need
properly,
to
you
peel,
could
yeah.
use it as a stock if you wanted to use up like carrot peelings or the outsides of leeks and stuff. You could make like a nice.
Yeah,
veg
and at
stock.
home I don't peel.
Yeah.
Just wash and
Yeah.
then roast.
I don't. I roast the
Yeah.
carrots and parsnips. I always keep the skin
So
on. and roast them.
don't peel. There you go.
Yeah.
Don't peel, then you don't have that problem in the first place. There you go. That's Sat Baines' answer. Right. Sat be trying to blow your minds and ours with a dish of chicken livers and muesli very shortly. And I'll be serving up a raspberry sponge genoise for Alfie Boe at the end of the show. But after the break, I'll be giving you a masterclass in spring greens that you don't want to miss. I'll see you in a minute. I'm going to go sort out the dog. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now I'll be laying on a second course for the award-winning tenor Alfie Boe, and Chef Sat Baines will be showcasing his legendary skills in the kitchen. That's coming up next. But first, it's time for this week's masterclass, and it's all about spring greens. In fact, greens in general, really. They're banging season at the moment, so we've got such a selection. So what are spring greens? Well, spring greens, first of all, are a young sort of tender cabbage where the leaves are all separated. These are your classic sort of spring greens. But I wanted to show you a few others that I've spotted in the supermarket recently as well. These are turnip tops. These over here, they are what they are, turnip tops, really. You can cook them exactly the same way as I'm going to cook a lot of this sort of stuff as well. These are your classic sort of spring greens as well, these over here. And then I want to show you these. These are called sweetheart cabbages. Now, these sort of look like hispy cabbages, but they're not hispy cabbages. Hispy cabbages are much firmer. So you can tell these are younger. the sweetheart cabbages. You can see you can't squeeze a hispy cabbage like that, so the leaves are not sort of as compact. I've got a little bit of chard over here. You can use those if you want. And then you've got a classic Savoy cabbage. And then this one over here, Fialaro, which is this sort of, it's an ancient sort of winter green from Italy. It's a fantastic green, this, and I couldn't resist spotting this in the supermarket, really. And to cook this, you can cook them very simply in sort of what I call a little emulsion, but they're really nice with a bit of black pepper as well. These are delicious. So I'm going to do sort of 3 variants of this, first of all. Now, first one I'm going to do is a classic sort of deep-fried crispy cabbage or crispy seaweed that you get at a lot of the Chinese restaurants. So what you want to do with these is make sure the cabbage is nicely washed, first of all, and dry, fundamentally. And then what we're going to do is then thinly slice this. Now, as I say, make sure, if you are washing it, make sure the leaves are patted really, really dry, like that. But generally, a lot of the time, you'll get, especially ones from the supermarket, they're nice and clean for you as well. But what you want to do is take this spring greens and thinly, thinly slice them, like that, all the way through. And you can take another one. And then you can either do these with spring greens or you can do it with Savoy cabbage like this. So, but either way, take these spring greens, nice and thin. Now, this is what you find in your Chinese restaurant, your crispy fried seaweed, which used to be seaweed. And apparently it was us in the UK that changed it to cabbage. Interesting enough. Mr. Ken Hong taught me that. But either way, you can take this nice and thin, like that, and then we can then fry it, deep fry it for this one. So when you're doing this, again, make sure it's dry. But what you do need to do is drop the temperature of the fryer down. So this is not deep frying like you deep frying chips or anything else like that. This is about 150, 160. If the oil's too hot, what happens is it crisps up the cabbage, they go brown, and it doesn't crisp up the actual inside. So you get soggy brown cabbage, which becomes bitter and it's not very pleasant. So in we go in small batches at a time, because you can see we want to get rid of that moisture as we go. That's it, it's that one. And then I can go with our secondary batch straight afterwards. That's going to go in as well. So all the while you just keep turning it around like that. Now the topping for this varies. Some people use the dried scallop roe, which is dried and then shaved. But a lot of the times I've had it, it's usually this, and it's a combination of several ingredients. Chinese spice powder, a little bit of chili, some salt, sugar, and sesame seeds blended. And that's what that is over there. So you can get 2 different variants of the topping of it. So if you're allergic to sesame seeds and stuff like that, please check as well, because sometimes they use the little bit of scallop roe. So you want to just mix this all together like that. And you can see it's almost going this translucent. Look at that colour that you get now. And all we can do now is just lift this out once it's nice and crisp, which I think that's not far off. We can lift this out of here, drain off the excess, tip it out. There we go. And then you can spread this out a bit so it just drains off. I think I've got a chip left from Christmas in there. That's gone in there. But you just drain that off. But you can see that beautiful colour. Now, to finish this off, rather than just put salt, this is where we use a combination of 2 things. You use a little bit of sugar, some castor sugar, and table salt. Mix this together, and we just sprinkle that on the top. So this is, you know, when you taste it, you get that lovely sort of sweet sort of taste with it as well. That's the sugar and the salt, the combination of the 2. And then all we do is just lift this up. You grab yourself a plate. Look at this. And you've got crispy fried seaweed, cabbage, bit of seaweed, like that over the top. And then you can finish that with your either topping over the top. And there you have it over there. Really simple, really easy to make using spring greens. But I'm going to show you another classic dish as well, or classic ways of actually cooking it. But you've got the beautiful spring greens over there. So I'm going to do this 2 ways really now. Nice and simple. We're going to cook these sort of turnip tops and this Italian sort of leaf as well for this one. Nice and simple. I'm just going to show you how easy it is to cook it. So what you want to do is create an emulsion. And this is where we use an emulsion of 2 ingredients, water and butter, like that. And by using equal quantities of each, really, you can see there's not much water in there. The classic way of cook cabbage with boiling loads of pans of water, it just leaves you scarred for life, or it certainly did me when I was a kid. But what you want to do is to create this emulsion It's very, very simple to cook cabbage like this. And when you're doing this, you can take this Italian leaf like that, and you can just put it straight in. So when you're doing that, you can take your spring greens, you can chop them up like this. You can put those in. You can put your turnip tops. Look, you can chop those in. All in. Now what you're doing is regulating the amount of moisture in there. So we're creating this emulsion. So black pepper, nice pinch of salt, and then we put the lid on. Now, interestingly enough, when you're doing this, you can tell while it's cooking whether you've got it right or not, when you just lift off the lid. So the pan is as full power as possibly can go, and it's not frying. If it's frying, that means the water's evaporated off and you're just left with butter in there. That's not what we want. We want it just cooking. So, but you see, we just want that small amount. See how very little the amount that's in there, but you retain all that lovely colour. Now, by doing this and rapidly cooking it with salt and particularly black pepper, you get this amazing flavour, this emulsion from it. And this is so much nicer than just putting it into a pan full of water and trying to take it all out and put butter on the top and mess around with it. This is so much nicer. You retain the colour and all the flavour as well. You don't lose any of the nutrients because everything's all in one pan. So you can hear it now start to fry. Now, this is the moment where we can take a pair of tongs like that. And you can see all that lovely colour. We can then take a little bit more water if need be. If it needs a little bit more cooking. Touch more black pepper. That's it. That's it. While that's happening, you can get a cabbage facial while you're at it as well, you see. There'll be some trendy place in London that'll be charging you 85 quid an hour for this, so look, but and yeah, you just take your bit of cabbage like that. It's so easy. Look, and you can see it. Look how much liquid we've got in here left. Look, nothing. It's all gone. It's much easier to cook cabbage this way as well. You retain the colour, you retain the flavour, you retain all the nutrients, you retain everything. So that's that one. So I'm just going to leave that to one side. We're going to cook a really simple dish. This is basically not for TV, like this is just for me, really. If I'm going to be selfish, this is calf's liver, and I love calf's liver and cabbage. I just think it's just a great combination. So first thing I'm going to do is we're going to get the calf's liver frying. So 2 pans, nice and hot, and just to prove that you can cook this meal very quickly. I mean, it's only going to take probably 2 minutes, something like that. So same thing applies with the cabbage. You can take the butter and we can create the emulsion. So butter, water, like that. And just get in the habit of this. By not putting too much water in, that's the key. And you can use whatever you want for this. And what I like about doing this is you can use these. I mean, these are delicious. Look at this. These are the sweetheart cabbages. Just look at the colour of this. That's the great thing about this. And we just take a chunk of it and just pop it straight in the pan. Like that. Black pepper. Pinch of salt. There we go. Lid. That goes on there. That's going to take about a minute to cook. Meanwhile, over here, we're then going to cook our nice little bit of liver. A little bit of oil into our pan. We then take our beautiful calf's liver over here. For this, I've got some gorgeous calf's liver. We dust it with a bit of flour, like that. Salt, pepper, like that. And you see, very quickly, people are often scared about cabbage. They think it just takes ages to cook. Look at this. It's almost done. Look. And because you've got that emulsion in there, you're not draining it off or anything like that. We've got a beautiful cabbage. The colour's there done. Move it to one side. It's finished. That's it, all right? Meanwhile, over here, we can take our calf's liver. A little bit of flour both sides. Just help. And with calf's liver, really, what you want to be doing is cooking this with a touch of butter. I know people use olive oil for this, but you want the colour, really. So you want a nice hot pan with calf's liver. Lovely hot pan. Roll this around till they start going nut brown. In we go with the calf's liver. The flour will create that lovely little crispy coating that you want. So you get that lovely sort of taste with it as well. So in we go with that. So the cabbage, you can see, is done. Got a mashed potato, which I'm going to warm up. It's amazing how you can create a meal like this very, very quickly. Look. But you want to cook this liver. Now, what you don't want to be doing is overcooking this liver. So the great thing about calves, if you get it nice and thinly cooked, you can see it cooking all the way through. But it's such a simple dish, this, but one that tastes amazing. So we've got our mashed potato, which, there we go. Now, I would say I made this, but I actually went to the supermarket and bought the bought-in stuff, which is perfectly all right, because it's just got mashed cream and butter in it. So there you go. You've got a lovely creamy mash. Saves a lot of time. This is the liver. Turn it over now. So you've got that beautiful, that's the colour that you want on it. You know, that crispy sort of taste as well that you want for it as well. So we then just turn it over like this. Make sure it's cooked on the other side. But what I had tendency to do is not fully cook it all the way through like that. What we can do is just drain out the little gubbins. Just get that in the bin. And then in the pan, we can make our sauce. So very, very quickly, we've got a little bit of Madeira. Touch of liquid stock. This is really quick. Other things with liver that goes particularly well, and cabbage, sherry vinegar. It's amazing. Just a dollop of sherry vinegar goes in there. Little knob of butter. French call this Monty au beurre. Salt, pepper. Reduce this down. While that's reducing down, we can simply get ready to serve this. So the liver is just going to go back into our sauce to create, it's now rare at the moment, it's going to make it sort of pink as well. It goes back into our sauce. So finish this off. We've got our lovely cabbage. Look at this, and you've got this, look at the colour. It's glorious, really, really simple. You see, you've got all the lovely nutrients in there. It just tastes so much. Lovely. A little pan. Got the mashed potato. There as well. And then finishing off our sauce now. As the sauce starts to reduce down, touch of salt, a little bit of black pepper. This is where we can add our calves liver back in to decide how well we want it cooked. Just keeping your eye on it so it coats in that lovely sort of sauce at the same time. We just lift off our calves liver. And then you've got this finished sauce. Now, this is where you just wait for it to be ready and have a little seasoning. And then over the top, just with a little bit of cabbage. This is a meal. Look at that. Meal in minutes, I think we're going to call it. But nice and simple, beautiful colour. Most importantly, with all this, beautiful flavour out of spring greens and cabbages. There you have it. Nice little masterclass, that. Done. There you go. Now, if there's anything you'd like to learn about in a little masterclass, then do get in touch. We'll see if we can help out right here on the show. But time now for a quick break. But join me again in a couple of minutes when the one and only Sat Baines will try to top trump all this with a classic dish from his restaurant menu. I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back. Now we're treating my guest, Alfie Boe, to my recipe for a raspberry genoise sponge very shortly. But first, I'm here with Sally Aby. And we're here with the giant of the restaurant world who's been at the very top of his game since he opened his Nottingham restaurant more than 20 years ago. It's the brilliant Mr. Sat Baines.
Thank you very much.
Right, welcome to the house.
Thank you very much.
I love your food. It's interesting, it's flavoursome, it's different. What is this dish? This dish today is it's called chicken liver muesli. So how this happened was a classic chicken liver parfait that you would almost quenelle on a lovely French bean salad with some shallots, vinaigrette, all the classics. Yeah. I remember a Saturday night with a table, chef's table. John, my head chef, was quenelling. It split. That means the liquid went away from the fat, and the only way to bring it round, obviously, the table was going. Yeah.
He was white as a ghost. I was on the fish and meat. What's wrong with you? And he went, share, like he does. And we had to, so I added some warm water. So warm water emulsified it again. And I always remember Heston.
But then it's liquid, though.
Exactly, but then Heston used to do that nitro, the egg white.
Yeah.
So nitrogen. So I thought, freeze it as fast as you can. We served it, blew them away, and that was 2009.
Right.
So it's been on. We've taken it off probably like the last 5 years.
Yeah.
And it came back on last week, and it's gone down the storm, yeah.
And is it one of these recipes that you adapt when it comes back on? Do you make any changes?
We've not touched it.
Not changed it.
We
Right, okay.
tried it, we looked at it, it didn't need anything doing.
Okay.
So we thought, let's stick to it. So, French beans, please, James, if you don't mind.
That's where you want me,
topping
topping
So that's
this.
going to add the texture and also that kind of classic combination of chicken liver, French beans and vinaigrette.
Okay.
In here, just so you all know, I've got a water bath set at 58, 60 degrees. I've got chicken livers here, and they're just sitting in soy sauce, and they take about half an hour just to cook. So you're going to add no salt, no stock, nothing.
Just soy sauce. You're
Just soy sauce.
marinated, and they've just
Nothing.
put the soy sauce
Just
in,
soy sauce,
in the
yeah.
bag.
So this is your water. I've got your salt in there. This pan here has got the brown chicken stock, which we're going to use. And also I've got here some gelatine that I've already bloomed. And that's going to help create the structure for this chicken liver.
Right.
So it's quite interesting combo.
Where do you get your ideas from? Where do you get your inspiration from?
Well, if you think about this dish, there's not really anything new. We've just changed the kind of like the parameters a little bit, but it's still got the essence of kind of classical.
But your cooking would be classical cooking.
Yeah,
in
we've got
terms
a
of,
foundation, yeah.
Foundation. Where do you get the? Because it's at the forefront of where I would say very modern in terms of interpretation.
I think for me, what I do love is I love food. So I love classics. I love going out to a French restaurant or Italian restaurant, whichever it is. But I don't want to go too far away from the flavour profile.
Yeah.
But I also want to keep reintroducing it so it feels quite modern, but there's kind of like an old-fashioned taste.
Yeah.
So you've never gone too far from the flavour profile, but you might go really far with the visual and the physical eating of it.
Right.
That's
okay.
the idea.
So, right, that's where you're going to. But you're
Yes.
about to be... Watch this space, look. Right.
So this is the...
your normal pate, is it?
This is the stock with the gelatine in. I'm going to pour that in here.
Right.
This is a very
That's
high-powered...
just chicken stock?
Chicken stock, brown chicken stock, gelatine. And then I've got the livers. So if you pass them then, please, James, just pop it on here.
So a lot of people looking at this would think they're raw.
No, they're cooked.
They're cooked.
So they've been cooked
that's the
60
soy
degrees
sauce
for
in
half
there.
an hour, yeah.
Right.
I'm going to pour this in. And again, I'm not going to add salt because the soy sauce acts as the seasoning.
Right.
I then get the lid, and obviously I've got to make sure that someone hasn't sabotaged this.
Yeah.
And
That'll be Sam Head, who did this with me on this morning, and she said, "You're just happy because you get 250 quid for that," because I turned it up and it went over me and Holly. But yeah, just make sure it's...
and what you do, you're blending it to create the structure. The gelatine, once it comes down to temperature, will create the structure,
Right.
so it sets. And the liver itself, the protein is also going to set, but the flavouring is coming from the soy and chicken stock.
There's no butter in this. Nothing.
Nothing. And I will taste it because, you know, as a chef, you have to. Delicious. And then all you do then, I'm going to just take this into the sink, and then this is the actual liquid now, and you pass it.
So this is the pate.
This is the actual pate.
Yeah.
And again, because the livers are going to have some sinew in there, you want to make sure you get them out. Thank you very much, Chef.
Yeah. And the colour comes from, I take it, the colour comes from the way you cook
From the
in
livers,
here.
exactly, and the soy, yeah.
Yeah.
It will change, obviously. As soon as air hits the livers, they oxidise. So, again, that's not an issue, because obviously what we're going to do with it...
Now, talking about going forward to go... Well, going backwards to go forward, I mean, you're constantly... I was at your restaurant just at Christmas time. You're constantly changing and evolving stuff. Tell us about what you've done to the restaurant, because you've changed a lot of it. I mean, the bar area's now changed, they've reduced the amount of covers. What do you...
I think what you've got to do, and I think, you know, Sally knows this, you've got to keep evolving. You know, how do you stay relevant?
Yeah.
You know, I've been there 24 years. How do you stay relevant enough for a guest to pay hard-earned cash, especially in this climate? Yeah. It's about being accessible, it's about having fun, it's about losing 3-4 hours.
Talk about having fun, because I know you've got the finished one over here, but just to show you what we've got in here, this is the actual liquid. Can I just show people, I'll use a spoon for this, but just show people what this is. That's
it, pate.
Pate.
Yeah.
It will be in a minute, because what we need is this. The beans will drain off, because you can talk about what you've got in here, what you're doing over there.
So this is the actual, same as the other one, but I like to leave it to set for a while, and I've just reheated this one up. So exactly the same as the one you've got there. It's oxidised slightly.
Right, this...
Didn't need seasoning or anything.
This sort of stuff...
Yeah. So, nitrogen. So you're going to whisk it. It's like a hollandaise, yeah? So if I was you, I'd hold the handle and just keep doing that as I pour this in.
OK.
Are you ready?
So you just carefully pour it in.
It's like kind of like a modern-day hollandaise where two chefs work together.
Yeah, go on then.
Faster. You feel it?
I've got no idea what's happening. It's firming up a bit.
Keep whisking. That's it, keep whisking, break it down. That's it. Look at that. Then I'll just break it up. And there you go.
That's what you wanted?
Yeah, little clusters of...
Look at that!
So now, the green beans, we need to chop them.
What do you want? Chopping these?
Yeah, just chop them into like almost like 1 centimetre pieces.
OK, I'll do that. No problem, I'll get this. There you go. I see you're sat there just giggling away. Eh?
So in here, I'm going to get the shallots, nice spoon of shallots in there.
Right.
I'm going to pour the little vinaigrette, which is a classic vinaigrette, a little bit of mustard.
All right.
Can add them beans to that.
Do you want the beans in there?
Yes, please. Pinch of salt.
I love that this came out of a mistake.
That is mad, isn't it? Get my little bowl. Check my little pate. And the important thing is, obviously, you don't want to eat it that cold.
Yeah.
You just want to let it come up to temperature a little bit, because obviously it's at minus 197, something like that, 196.
Might
Just to
stick
be
your
exact.
tongue.
Yeah. And then here we've got apricot. So apricot dried, infuse it with a bit of vinegar, so it's got really acidity. Some nice balance there. So this is almost like the chutney element of the dish.
Like you say, your menu is a sort of a tasting menu, but the vegetables are, such an important part. Although you use proteins there, the veg is an important part of your...
Some of the dishes are just pure vegetarian, vegetable dishes based. And I think, for me, I've always thought it's harder to cook really good vegetarian food because the onus is always on the protein.
Yeah.
You get good vegetarian dishes that have
Amazing.
been made delicious, and I think that's harder as a chef.
So what is that just gone on there? What have you got?
They're pickled cranberries. So again,
Okay.
cranberries with some white wine. So
Right.
this is the base.
Okay.
So this is the actual muesli now. So as you can see, this will stay in the freezer for about 4 hours.
I love to see how your mind works.
But again, the flavour combo isn't that far removed from a classic pâté.
Right.
With French bean salad, which is a classic, as you know. This is the muesli, so you've got roasted chicken skin. I've got some granola. And this is obviously the element of the muesli part. And to finish all, you can use a syrup. You can use banyuls, mori. This is port.
Right.
So classically, it goes well with the liver.
So give us the name of this dish then.
So, chicken liver muesli. That's it.
I'd say try that at home, but good luck. There you go. Anyway, enjoy that one. Sat Baines, everybody.
Thank you.
One for you.
Thank you.
Bon appetit. Right, you kindly made one up for us. Go on, you got to taste your dish.
Dig deep, Sally.
Dig deep with the beans and everything else.
Man, isn't it?
Delicious.
How do you explain that other than delicious?
It's very difficult to explain because it's kind of like breakfast on top and then parfait on the bottom.
And also, because it's so cold, it's actually fresh. But you'd never associate chicken liver pate as fresh, would you?
The only way I can describe it is your mind in a bowl.
Yeah, scrambled.
That's your mind.
Scrambled and frozen.
Yeah, because I've known you a long time. That's the only way I can describe it. But that's a little, what's this in here? You just put on this little bit of
Apricot
apricot as well.
with the white wine, yeah.
Sat Baines, everybody.
Thank you very much.
Brilliant. Right, we've still got time for one more final dish. So join us again after the break when we're treating Alfie Boe to a show-stopping dessert. A little bit simpler than that, but I'll see you in a bit. Welcome back to the last part of the show, but I'm back in the kitchen with all my guests, but the brilliant Alfie Boe as well. Sally's here, Sat's here to give me a hand as well. So for the final dish, I thought I'd do something sweet, because we've had enough savoury today.
Yes.
You're full of lamb chops, we're full of everything.
I missed the
pork
lamb
chop was amazing, by the way.
I missed them lamb chops.
You missed the lamb chop. You missed it. You're too busy cleaning up your liquid nitrogen, that's what it is. But I thought, no need for that for this one. We're going to do a classic sort of Genoise sponge, really. So running through the ingredients, because I want to get these started all. We're going to start off with some eggs. I'm going to get you to whip up the cream for this, if that's all right. So I want softly whipped, not firm peak, softly whipped cream. So for this, what we want to do, for our Genoise, we start off, and I'm making 2 Genoise sponges for this, but we start off with 8 eggs. So 8 eggs, medium-sized eggs, into our bowl. Now, you need them warm, ideally, so don't have them straight out of the fridge, the eggs. In we go with the sugar. That's going to go in there. And we start this mixture on. So this is completely different to a Victoria sponge. As I was trying to explain to Sat, the difference...
I needed explaining.
You needed explaining for this, didn't you? So, normal Victoria sponge with butter and sugar mixed together. You add the eggs, fold in the flour. Not necessarily fold in, but it's much more of a bun mix of Victoria sponge. This is much lighter.
Okay.
This is, if you're asking a pastry chef to make a sponge, this is what I would make, the little Genoise sponge. Now, we talked earlier about all the things you were doing as well, but we failed to miss out. We missed out on Vegas.
Yes.
Because you're back doing a residency in Vegas.
Yeah, I have a residency. I started that last year, and it's at the Westgate Casino.
Yeah.
I'm back there in April to do another few shows. But it's the same casino, the same theatre that Elvis Presley used to play. And
that's pretty cool. Is it the same dressing room as well?
Exactly the same dressing room. I even wear the jumpsuit.
Is it one of those, because you're touring as well, we're going to get onto the tour as well, but I often find it, because I'm touring in the same places where you are.
Yeah.
When you go there, there's certain theatres and certain places around the country have this unique... The Palladium, I mean, people talk about the Palladium, but Palladium is...
It's iconic.
And City Hall in Newcastle's another one. There's something unusual. I don't know what it is.
Well, you can really feel the history of everybody that's played there in the past. You know, you've got the famous performances. Like the Royal Albert Hall is exactly the same. That's that's got so much history for memorable performances. But the London Palladium is a special place in town.
When you're touring, you have to certain areas. You sign this fire curtain that comes down.
Yeah.
And you sign it. You've got like Charlie Chaplin. Laurel and Hardy, signatures on this fire. It's amazing, the history. If ever that came up for auction, I've got trying to think what it would go for. Where you'd put it, I don't know as well.
Yeah.
But you're doing this in conjunction, you're celebrating, we talk about the tour as well, but you're celebrating, 30 years in the business as well.
Yes, yeah, 30 years
We
singing.
almost could be twins.
There you go.
50 this year, 30 years in the business, which is mine as well.
There you go, man.
And tell us about the tour then, and what can people expect?
The tour will consist of... The show on the tour will consist of some of my old hits, obviously a big Les Mis section, what people know me for, some of my classical stuff, some original material, but also promoting the new album that I'll have released this year, which is like symphonic rock. I have my rock band, but I also have this beautiful string orchestra there, with all the power of classical music behind these classic rock songs,
Yeah. But that must, the classic side of it must be amazing. That sound you get.
Yeah.
It's not amplified, it's that natural sound. It must be amazing to perform.
It just really enhances the flavour of the music in a way, it really just lifts everything and fills people with energy, fills people with the suitable emotion that you're supposed to portray.
Sorry about the machine going away, by the way, didn't need that going. But all the stuff you're doing, I'm assuming live performances, because you get to travel all over the world. You're Japan this year, you're going all over the place. I'm assuming that's still got to be your love.
I love it. I mean, I'd never want that side of my career to stop, the live performing. That's what got into the business to do initially, you know, and just to play live in front of an audience. And so, yeah, that's the pinnacle of my career when I can stand on stage with my musicians, play music live, and see everybody's faces immediately, you know.
And also, we've known that you toured as well, where you're great mates with Michael Ball, and to do that on your own as well, because you almost tag team each other when you're doing that.
We do, yeah. I mean, we've been together now 7 years, I think, you know, doing this duo partnership. And he's a great guy. I love working with Michael. We have fun, we enjoy it. We've been in the business, you know, for a long while, and we know how it all works, and we just lend it ourselves to each
proves out
other.
what you're doing. So basically, I'm just going to recap over here while I'm getting him to whisk some single cream.
It's working.
It's working. Yeah, you were thinking here. So I've got some cake tins here, 8-inch cake tins, lined, butter, flour, lined with a little bit of greaseproof paper. This is the moment when you want to start adding the rest of the ingredients. So we've got the same amount of flour that you have sugar. I've got a little bit of melted butter. Now, this is where this cake comes in. It's usually a cake that you find in hotter climates, not really in the UK, in Hampshire, but because of that, the butter will stop it from going stale.
Right.
So you add more moisture in it. So rather than it being a normal sponge cake, which with no butter, genoise is the addition of butter, right? And then what you want to do is take the mixture that we've got in here. You can see already it's really, really light that we've got in here.
Shall I tell you my experience of making a cake?
What's that?
I made a cake for my daughter's birthday.
Yeah.
And I baked it in the same oven that I grilled sardines in the morning. And Dad said, "Hey, happy birthday, love." And it tasted awful, man. This fish cake.
Fish cake.
Fish cake for a birthday. Happy birthday.
Nice.
Yeah,
well, look, the key to this I always find, and I've been a pastry chef for years, is not using a spatula. Is open up your fingers like that. So this is the too fat lady moment. You know when you got the jewellery in, when all the people at home kick off? Sorry. But this is that moment where you get your hands in and you mix it all together. So you open up your fingers like that, and it mixes this cake mixture so much quicker. The key to it is you don't want to be messing around, cut, fold, figure of 8, messing around for this. The quicker you get it in the oven, the better it's going to be. So the quicker you do this, the better it is. Use your fingers like that. So open it all up like that. Pour this into there. Split it between the two. So you've got another one in there. Another one in there. Did that look like your cake mixer so far?
Yeah, it doesn't smell like it, but I mean...
And then, quick wash of the hands. Now, it is actually stable, so it will actually hold like that for a second. And then what you want to do is then just take our cake mixture, middle shelf of an oven, 180 degrees. That goes straight in the oven. And these need to cook for about 25 minutes. That's going to go in there. So that's going to go straight in here. Meanwhile, I've got my amazing assistant over here.
How thick?
There. Thank you very much. Thank you, Chef. Thank you. We've got our nice little tin over here. Now, this is where, and I'm going to be truthful with this where it brings back quite odd memories for me, because if you're entering competition, particularly WIs, do not do this cake. Because I entered this for Victoria sponge cake and got disqualified even before I got out of the car. I used the wrong jam, the wrong sugar, the wrong recipe, shouldn't have cream in it.
So Victoria sponge I always thought was...
It's not that
jam.
recipe. It's not, before you even put jam in it, you've already failed, because it shouldn't be that.
But I thought it was sponge.
Yeah, but that's a sponge.
Jam and cream.
That's Victoria's...
Or buttercream.
Sponge cake is a different method, different thing altogether.
Can they tell the difference between the sponge and...
They could tell the difference before it came out the boot. they could smell it as I was pulling into the car park. So don't go anywhere near the competitions if you're going to do it that way. But this is a different version. This is a version for you. So we're going to take our raspberry jam. I put strawberry jam in it, which was another fatal error. But you take raspberry jam and you want to put a decent amount, because, you know, it's a decent amount of raspberry jam on here. There's no point being stingy, is there, Chief?
No,
you know?
not at all.
That's going to go in here, over the top.
Especially when I'm taking this one out.
You're going to take... You'll be taking another one out. I've made you another one. And then the cream, a decent amount of cream.
It's beautifully whipped, isn't it?
It's not badly whipped, yeah. But look, bit of that in here.
God, I love you, James.
We'll put a little bit more in.
There you go.
Just use it up, Chief. There you go. Hey, there you go. And then we grab our
Look at that.
sponge on the top.
Look at that.
It may have failed the WI thing, but it's one ear today. Look, this bit, and then you grab some ice and sugar. This is where I'm wrong and put ice and sugar on. I should have used caster sugar, but it's like, tell it left me scarred for life.
Yeah.
So, bit of that over the top.
Oh, that's incredible.
So, before we dive into this, I wish you all the very best with everything you're doing. The album, the book, the tour and stuff like that. Just remind everybody when you're touring again.
Beginning of September through until the end of October.
And that'll be a new album out as well later on in the year. But
I'll
there
be
you have it.
having my 50th in Newcastle as well.
You might not make either of them, and any of them, to be honest. If you eat half of that, you won't be making anywhere. Anyway, but there you have it. My version, not of a Victoria sponge. It's just a sponge cake with a bit of cream and a bit of jam. Done.
Beautiful.
Wow, beautiful.
Three plates cheese out the front. Thank you very much. I'll grab a little knife, cut it. You're excited about this, aren't you, Sam?
Yeah, I am actually, yeah. Look at that, wow.
Go. Another one.
Look at that.
Another one.
Best Victoria sponge I've ever seen.
It's not a Victoria sponge, don't say that. I'll be getting letters.
Sorry.
And another one.
Wow.
And one more.
Fabulous, thank you.
And then what I would do is, this is from my own town, because this is.
Oh man, more cream.
Oh, more cream?
Oh yeah, Chief.
Is that what you do?
Yes, Chief.
Jeez, that's a lot of cream.
Wow. I was going to pour it over that then.
Can we dive in?
Yeah, go on, dive in.
Well, you missed a bit of cream off, or just
Right, a little bit of all.
Yeah, just keep it.
I've never seen cream poured on a cake like that before. Is that normal?
Welcome to my house.
Yeah, this is great. I love it in my beer.
Perfect.
Happy with that? Yeah, he's happy.
It's beautiful.
He's happy. Well, that's it. That's all we've got time for today, sadly. A massive thank you to all my guests. Alan Miller, Sally and Sat, of course, and the brilliant Miss Alfie Boe. Good luck with the tour as well. Good luck with the album. You're an absolute superstar. Love you. Right, see you back at the same time in my kitchen next Saturday, when I'll be joined by more top chefs, other brilliant guests. Until then, take care, stay safe. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bye for now.